This is the cheapest 8-inch helical head jointer I could find in Australia. Should I have spent another $2 on a name brand, or will this provide some nice square straight boards? Let's find out.
Before we start, I am not affiliated with this company in any way or form. Like all my tools in my workshop, I've paid for this out of my own money and done all my own research. This came in at $1,964 including tax, so it was the end of year tax time special. So the other brands I could find similar to this came in at about $3,000, and then a name brand was $4,500. So I just didn't see the value in that. I looked at everything, and this seemed to be the best bang for the buck. I was very lucky just at this point. I was trying to figure out how I'm going to lift this thing up. My neighbour came over. They gave us a bit of a lift to get this up on the base. And the first thing we're going to do is swap out the old knives for the helical head. I was hoping this wasn't installed when I brought it, but it all came as one piece. Pretty easy process in getting the actual cutting head out. It's just two long bolts holding it on. Swapping out was pretty easy considering this was a separate part and it came with its own set of instructions. And I do tend to use the dead blow hammer quite often on this project just to coach things in and pull things off. There's no finesse in this, that's for sure. One of the only specialty tools you're going to need for this build is a bearing puller. I was extremely lucky that my mate next door actually owned one. And once again using the dead blow hammer just to do the precision work. So this part took about an hour to swap out. It was pretty easy and straightforward. Just got to be a bit careful getting this back in. You don't chip those helical cutter heads because they are really, really expensive to buy and replace. This was one of the most frustrating bits on the entire build, trying to line these bolts up. There's three of them holding it onto the base, and it was just impossible to get your hands in there, and this took a long time to finally get done right. And once again, having to bring the old dead blow hammer out. Things just didn't seem to line up or go in that easily, but with a bit of persuasion, everything seemed to go in. This took the longest part of the entire build, was lining up this fence and getting it on and getting it all squared up. And it was time to clean all this anti-rust muck off. It was absolutely caked in it, a sticky sort of film. I do have a video on how I remove and clean up cast iron bench tops. I'll leave that down in the description. And it came up really nice in the end, and it was absolutely silky smooth. And just putting the final touches on everything before we can start running some timber through it. This is my biggest gripe, or really one of the only gripes about this machine, is you just couldn't adjust this by hand. You have to use a mallet to tap it in and out to get it perfectly square. So by this stage I'd used it for a few weeks and had no problems. But whenever you do use it, just keep checking the fence is square to the bed, because like anything it can slowly creep out. Now keep up the paste wax as well on the bed, just to make sure that it is nice and smooth, because when you're running bigger pieces of timber through, it can cause a bit of a suction and you don't want to be forcing anything, because the last thing you want to do is to have your hand slip off, and there is no forgiveness in that spinning cutter head. Everything came out square and I was extremely happy with it. Even running a full slab through it, and it came out absolutely beautiful. And the only thing I'd really change is those push blocks. They started to fall apart. The rubber on the bottom started peeling off after a while, and they just don't feel that comfortable in the hand. I will be upgrading to something a bit better.
So you're never going to capture 100% of the dust, but this has done really well. So you don't want to use this without any form of dust collection, because these are really messy machines. Just a bit behind the back here and just a bit around the floor. I'm really happy the way this jointer turned out. For $2,000, I think it's worth it. I just don't see the value in spending another $2,500 for a big name brand. This did the job well. I probably put it through 50, 60 boards of different sizes and thicknesses over the last few weeks of using this. Everything came out square and it did its job well. With the helical head, beautiful timber, absolutely flat and extremely smooth. So I do recommend, if you can afford a helical head, upgrade to that. This one was about an extra $500 on top of the $1,400 for the machine. So I am pretty damn impressed with it. So guys, please give this thumbs up and hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you on the next video. Thanks for watching.